Have you ever felt like you were meant for something more? Like an unseen force is holding you back from achieving your true potential? You might be experiencing a captured destiny. This book, The Captured Destiny, Signs of Spiritually Captured Destiny Star, is your guide to reclaiming your birthright, a life guided by purpose and fueled by divine light. Within these pages, you'll embark on a journey alongside a protagonist who, like you, feels a disconnect from their true path. We'll delve into the concept of a captured destiny, a state where unseen forces obstruct your divinely ordained path. These forces can manifest in various ways, from recurring setbacks and frustrations to a gnawing sense of unease. But fear not. This is not a story of despair. It's a story of empowerment. As you journey with our protagonist, you'll discover the signs that might be holding you back. We'll explore cryptic dreams, recurring obstacles, and the whispers of your own intuition. This book is more than just a diagnosis, it's a roadmap to liberation. You'll learn about the wayfinders, those who possess the knowledge and tools to help you navigate the path back to your true self. Through a series of trials and revelations, you'll confront the internal battles that keep you from reaching your full potential. We'll explore practices and rituals to reconnect with your divine purpose, the guiding light that resides within each of us. Prepare to embark on a transformative journey of self-discovery. Learn to decipher the language of the stars, the whispers of your soul, and reclaim the destiny that is rightfully yours. This is not just the protagonist's story, it's yours too. By the end of this journey, you'll be equipped to break free from the forces that hold you back and embrace the life you were always meant to live. Are you ready to unleash the radiant star within? The Captured Destiny, written and published by the Zillionpro. Introduction: The Astronomer Who Lost His Sky, a guide to reclaiming your captured destiny. Imagine gazing upon the night sky, not with wonder, but with a chilling emptiness. This was the fate of Aleister Stirling, a renowned astronomer who once mapped the constellations with the precision of a clockmaker. Yet, one fateful night, his telescope revealed a terrifying truth: his own guiding star, a celestial beacon unique to each soul, had vanished. Aleister's world crumbled. His life's work, fueled by a profound connection to the cosmos, felt like a cruel joke. Success turned to ash in his mouth, replaced by a gnawing sense of being lost at sea without a compass. His story, both tragic and strangely captivating, serves as a stark reminder: a captured destiny can befall anyone, even the most brilliant among us. This book, The Signs of Captured Destiny, delves into the chillingly real phenomenon of destinies held hostage. It's not a matter of fate being cruel. Unseen forces, both internal and external, can conspire to dim your inner light and steer you off course. But fear not, for Aleister's story doesn't end in despair. Driven by a flicker of hope, he embarked on a remarkable odyssey. This book becomes your travelogue, chronicling his encounters with enigmatic mentors, the Wayfinders, who possess the knowledge to navigate the treacherous path back to one's true self. Through Aleister's struggles, you'll learn to recognize the signs of a captured destiny, the recurring setbacks, the cryptic dreams, the gnawing sense of unease that whispers of a path unfulfilled. We'll explore practices and rituals to reconnect with your inner compass, to decipher the language of the stars and reclaim the radiant light that is your birthright. This is not just Aleister's story, it's yours too. Perhaps you've felt a similar disconnection, a dimming of your own internal fire. By the end of this journey, you'll be equipped with the tools to confront the forces that hold you back and reclaim the destiny that awaits you. Are you ready to reignite your star and illuminate the path ahead? Chapter 1, A Star Falls from Grace. The night Aleister lost his sky. The desert air crackled with a dry heat, clinging to Aleister Stirling like a second skin. He knelt on the coarse sand, squinting into the eyepiece of his prized telescope, a magnificent monstrosity of polished brass and beveled glass. For decades, Aleister had meticulously mapped the constellations, his name synonymous with celestial navigation. Tonight, however, a cold dread coiled in his stomach. He had been tracking a celestial anomaly, a subtle shift in the starlight patterns around a particular constellation, one he'd named Celestial Weaver. It was a personal landmark, a constellation he'd meticulously studied since childhood, a time when the night sky felt like a map to his destiny. Tonight, though, the celestial weaver was different. A void gaped where his personal guiding star, a faint, shimmering point of light he'd named Wayfinder, should have been. Panic clawed at his throat. He swept the telescope across the expanse, searching frantically, but the Wayfinder was gone. Like a ship adrift, Alistair felt his connection to the cosmos severed, plunging him into a chilling emptiness. Days turned into weeks, his once meticulous notes replaced by frantic scribbles and dead ends. Sleep offered no solace, filled with nightmares of a vast, starless void. His colleagues, worried by his disheveled appearance and mumbled pronouncements, began to whisper amongst themselves. The once respected astronomer was becoming a figure of ridicule. One night, as despair threatened to consume him, a faint, almost imperceptible melody drifted through his open window. Intrigued, Alistair stumbled outside, following the sound to a hidden courtyard tucked away in the bustling city. There, bathed in the soft glow of paper lanterns, sat a group of figures, their faces obscured by long hooded cloaks. One, older and seemingly more distinguished, held a stringed instrument, its gentle notes weaving a tapestry of sound that resonated deep within Alistair's soul. Hesitantly, Alistair approached. "Excuse me," he rasped, his voice rough with disuse. "That melody, it sounds familiar." The cloaked figure lowered his instrument, his eyes reflecting a surprising warmth. "Lost, are we?" he said, his voice a low rumble. "Perhaps we can help you find your way back to the stars." Alistair stared, a spark of hope igniting in his chest. Could these be the Wayfinders, the legendary guides rumored to exist on the fringes of academia? With a trembling voice, he poured out his story, the tale of his vanished star and the crushing emptiness that followed. The figure listened intently, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Tonight, Alistair Sterling," he finally said, "your journey begins anew." As the melody swelled, a strange feeling washed over Alistair, a sense of possibility flickering in the darkness. Perhaps, just perhaps, his star wasn't lost after all. Chapter 2, Echoes of Dissonance, a symphony of setbacks. Alistair awoke with a start, the haunting melody from the previous night echoing in his mind. He felt a flicker of hope, a fragile butterfly against the storm clouds of doubt. Seeking answers, he returned to the hidden courtyard, only to find it deserted, the paper lanterns extinguished, the air thick with the scent of vanished smoke. Disappointment clawed at him, but a newfound resolve hardened his resolve. He wouldn't let this be another dead end. Determined to decipher the message from the Wayfinders, Alistair delved back into his research, scouring ancient texts and forgotten archives. He spent days poring over cryptic symbols and forgotten languages, his frustration mounting with each passing hour. The world outside his window seemed to mock him. His colleagues received prestigious awards, their discoveries plastered across scientific journals, a stark contrast to his own descent into obscurity. One evening, as Alistair slumped over his desk, a knock on the door startled him. It was his former research partner, Evelyn, a brilliant astrophysicist who had grown increasingly concerned about his erratic behavior. "Alistair," she said, her voice laced with concern, "you haven't been yourself lately." "What's going on?" Alistair hesitated, torn between the need for support and the fear of sounding like a madman. Finally, he blurted out the story of his vanishing star and the encounter with the Wayfinders. Evelyn listened patiently, her expression a mix of skepticism and something akin to curiosity. "It sounds like a delusion, Alistair," she admitted gently, "but perhaps there's another explanation. Have you considered a sleep study? Stress can manifest in strange ways." Alistair felt a surge of anger. Delusion? He scoffed at the idea. Yet, a seed of doubt had been planted. Could his grief over the missing star be clouding his judgment? Against his better judgment, he agreed to the sleep study. The following days were a blur of electrodes and wires. The nights, however, offered no respite. He dreamt of falling stars, of celestial maps twisting and contorting, his own voice echoing in the vast emptiness, a desperate plea for guidance unanswered. The results of the sleep study were inconclusive. Stress and exhaustion, the doctor declared, prescribing a cocktail of medications that did little to alleviate the gnawing unease. Back in his office, Alistair stared at the now mocking telescope. Every failed experiment, every dead end, felt like a cruel joke. He was on the verge of giving up, of succumbing to the darkness, when a flyer fluttered onto his desk, carried by a stray gust of wind. It advertised a lecture on the unseen forces of the universe by a visiting scholar named Dr. Amara Singh. A desperate hope flared within him. Unseen forces? Could this be the answer he craved? Chapter 3, Whispers in the Dream World, Unveiling the Shadow Self. The lecture hall thrummed with a nervous energy as Alistair settled into his seat. Dr. Amara Singh, a woman with eyes that held the wisdom of ancient galaxies, captivated the audience with tales of unseen forces that influenced our lives. She spoke of energetic blockages, of entities that fed off negative emotions, and of the shadow self, a hidden aspect of our psyche that could hold us back from achieving our full potential. Alistair felt a jolt course through him. Could this be the explanation for his missing star? Was his own shadow self, a manifestation of his anxieties and self-doubt, somehow blocking his connection to the cosmos? The lecture ended with a flurry of questions. Alistair lingered behind, his heart pounding in his chest. When the crowd had thinned, he approached Dr. Singh, his voice trembling slightly. Dr. Singh, he began, your lecture, it resonated with me deeply. I'm experiencing a blockage. A disconnect from my life's purpose. Dr. Singh regarded him with a knowing smile. Tell me more, she said, her voice a soothing balm. Alistair poured out his story, the tale of the missing star, the haunting melody, and the crushing sense of failure. Dr. Singh listened patiently, nodding occasionally. When he finished, she spoke. Mr. Sterling, she said, the universe communicates in many ways, often through dreams. Perhaps the answers you seek lie within your own subconscious. Intrigued, Alistair described the nightmares that had plagued him since the star's disappearance. Dr. Singh's eyes narrowed. These dreams, she said, are symbolic representations of your internal struggles. The falling stars represent a loss of hope, the twisting constellations a distorted view of your path. The echoing voice is your own yearning for guidance. Alistair felt a shiver crawl down his spine. But how do I access this shadow self, he asked, the term leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. Dr. Singh smiled. There are techniques, she explained, guided meditations, dream journaling, and practices to confront your inner demons. It won't be easy, Mr. Sterling, but it's the only way to break free from this blockage. She offered him a list of resources and a gentle nudge toward the door. The universe is waiting for you to reclaim your connection, she said. Are you ready to embark on this journey? Alistair stared at the list in his hand, a mixture of trepidation and newfound determination coursing through him. He was about to delve into the uncharted territory of his own psyche, to confront the darkness that might be holding him back. But for the first time since his star vanished, a glimmer of hope flickered within him. He was no longer just adrift, he was charting a course, a perilous journey into the heart of his own shadow. That night, armed with Dr. Singh's advice, Alistair embarked on a series of guided meditations. He focused on the recurring images from his dreams, the falling stars, the tangled constellations. As he delved deeper, a new image emerged, a grotesque caricature of himself, a twisted reflection of his insecurities and self-doubt. This was his shadow self, Dr. Singh's words echoing in his mind. Fear threatened to engulf him, but he pressed on, confronting the distorted figure. He challenged its negativity, its whispers of doubt, demanding it release its hold on him. The struggle was intense, a battle fought within the confines of his own mind. But as dawn approached, a sense of calm washed over him. The distorted figure seemed to shrink, its power diminished. Alistair woke with a gasp, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. The nightmares still lingered, but something had shifted. He felt a newfound sense of control, a spark of confidence that had been dormant for too long. Perhaps, he thought, The first step in reclaiming his star was confronting the darkness within. The path ahead might be uncertain, but he was no longer lost. He had a map, a guide, his own awakened awareness. The journey to reclaim his star had truly begun. Chapter 4, Whispers on the Wind, Seeking the Wayfinders. Emboldened by his encounter with Dr. Singh and the tentative victory over his shadow self, Alistair delved deeper into the world of the unseen. He devoured books on dream interpretation, shadow work, and ancient practices for connecting with the subconscious. The nights were spent in a whirlwind of guided meditations, dream journaling, and visualizations, all aimed at unlocking the secrets buried within his own psyche. One recurring element emerged, the melody from the hidden courtyard. It became an anchor, a beacon guiding him through the labyrinthine corridors of his dreams. He began to suspect that the melody was a key, a way to reconnect with the enigmatic wayfinders. His days were dedicated to a relentless search. He scoured online forums filled with esoteric discussions, frequented New Age bookstores, and even ventured into dimly lit shops selling crystals and incense. Everywhere he went, he dropped cryptic hints about the melody, hoping to find someone who recognized it. The search felt like chasing shadows, a constant dance with disappointment. Days bled into weeks, and the frustration gnawed at him. Just as he was on the verge of giving up, a chance encounter at a local cafe offered a glimmer of hope. Alistair was hunched over his laptop, desperately searching an obscure online forum titled Whispers on the Astral Plane, when a voice startled him. Looking for something, are we? He looked up to see an elderly woman with eyes that sparkled like distant stars. Her smile was warm and knowing. I'm searching for a melody, Alistair stammered, feeling a surge of apprehension. The woman chuckled. A melody that holds the key. I presume. She hummed a few bars, a perfect rendition of the tune that had been haunting Alistair's dreams. Alistair's jaw dropped. You know it, he gasped. Indeed, the woman said, her eyes twinkling. And it seems you've come to the right place. She introduced herself as Ellora, a name that sent a jolt through Alistair. Ellora was a legend within the esoteric community, rumored to be a conduit between the physical world and the unseen realms. Over steaming cups of herbal tea, Ellora explained the Wayfinders. They weren't a physical location, but a group of enlightened beings who existed outside the boundaries of conventional reality. The melody, she revealed, was a fragment of their language, a universal call for guidance. Your encounter with them, Ellora explained, was not a coincidence, Alistair. They sensed your struggle and reached out. But the path to the Wayfinders is not for the faint of heart. It requires discipline, focus, and a willingness to confront your deepest fears. Alistair felt a surge of determination. He had come too far to back down now. He readily agreed to undergo Ellora's training, a rigorous program that blended traditional meditation techniques with exercises designed to heighten one's awareness of the subtle energies of the universe. The following weeks were a blur of intense training. Ellora taught him to quiet his mind, to focus his intent, and to perceive the world with senses beyond the physical. He learned about the subtle energy channels within the body, the chakras, and how to manipulate them to access higher states of consciousness. Slowly, a shift began to occur. His dreams became more vivid, filled with symbolic messages and cryptic clues. He began to experience moments of lucidity within his dreams, a sense of being awake while asleep. It was during one such lucid dream that he finally found himself back in the hidden courtyard. The air shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and the figures cloaked in darkness were once again present. This time, however, they weren't shrouded in shadows. He saw wise faces, eyes filled with compassion and ancient knowledge. The leader, the one who played the stringed instrument, smiled warmly. Welcome back, Alistair Sterling, he said, his voice a melodic rumble. Your journey has just begun. Chapter 5, Trials by Starlight, Confronting the Guardians. Alistair awoke with a gasp, the echo of the Wayfinder's voice lingering in his ears. Ellora's words echoed in his mind. Your journey has just begun. He had glimpsed the Wayfinders, a step closer to reclaiming his lost star, but the path ahead remained shrouded in mystery. Ella greeted him with a knowing smile. "You've made contact," she said. Alistair nodded, excitement battling with a tremor of unease. "What now?" he asked. "The Wayfinders rarely offer a direct path," Ella explained. "They believe in the power of self-discovery. They will guide you, but the challenges you face will be unique to you." Her words proved true. The following days were filled with cryptic messages delivered through dreams, strange synchronicities in his waking life, and a growing sense of anticipation. One evening, as he sat under a canopy of stars, a sense of foreboding washed over him. He closed his eyes, focusing his intent on connecting with the Wayfinders. A wave of dizziness swept over him, and when he opened his eyes, he found himself standing on a desolate plain bathed in an ethereal twilight. 3 figures stood before him, their features obscured by swirling stardust. They were the Guardians, the Wayfinders' first line of defense, protectors who tested those seeking their aid. "Alistair Sterling," boomed a voice that seemed to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You seek to reclaim your lost star. But are you worthy?" A series of trials unfolded. First came a test of his courage. He found himself alone in a cavern filled with the growls of unseen creatures. Fear threatened to engulf him, but he remembered Ella's teachings, focusing his energy and projecting a sense of calm defiance. The growls subsided, replaced by an eerie silence. The next trial tested his resolve. He stood before a shimmering portal that reflected a distorted image of himself, his shadow self magnified, spewing his insecurities and past regrets. Alistair gritted his teeth, refusing to let the negativity consume him. He confronted the twisted figure, reminding himself of the progress he had made. The image flickered and dissolved. Finally, he faced a test of his heart. He stood before a breathtaking vista, a replica of his childhood home, bathed in the warm glow of his lost innocence. A longing welled up within him, a yearning for a simpler time. But he knew this was an illusion. He had to move forward, not dwell on the past. With a heavy heart, he stepped away from the idyllic scene. Exhausted but exhilarated, Alistair found himself back under the starlit sky. The Guardians stood before him, their forms clearer now. "You have passed," one of them said. Relief flooded through him, but there was no time to celebrate. "What now?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Your journey continues," the Guardian replied. "The Wayfinders await. But be warned, the final test will be the most challenging yet. Are you ready to face it?" Alistair stared at the stars, a newfound determination hardening his resolve. He had come too far to turn back now. "Yes," he said, his voice ringing with conviction. "I am ready," the Guardians nodded, and in a flash of blinding light, Alistair found himself back in his room. He knew not what the final test would be, but he was prepared to face it. He had confronted his shadow self, passed the trials by starlight, and stood before the threshold of a new beginning. The Wayfinders awaited, and with them, perhaps, the key to reclaiming his lost star. Chapter 6, Whispers of the Cosmos, the Wayfinders Council. Exhausted but exhilarated, Alistair collapsed onto his bed. The trials by starlight had pushed him to his limits, yet a profound sense of accomplishment hummed beneath the surface. He had faced his fears, confronted his inner demons, and emerged stronger. Sleep came in fits and starts, filled with vivid dreams of swirling constellations and ethereal whispers. When he finally awoke, a sense of anticipation hung heavy in the air. He knew it was the day he would finally meet the Wayfinders face to face. Following a cryptic message delivered in a dream, Alistair found himself at a remote mountaintop observatory, the air thin and the view breathtaking. An ancient telescope, its brass gleaming in the morning sun, dominated the central platform. As he approached, a gentle voice startled him. "Welcome, Alistair Sterling," a woman said, her voice as soft as the rustling leaves. She emerged from the shadows, her features ageless, her eyes twinkling with the wisdom of millennia. This was Amara, the leader of the Wayfinders, the one who had played the stringed instrument in his dreams. "You have come a long way," Amara said, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "Your courage and determination have brought you here," Alistair bowed his head, overwhelmed by a sense of awe. "Thank you," he stammered, "for guiding me. For believing in me." Amara led him inside the observatory, the air thick with the scent of old parchment and forgotten lore. The once sterile environment now pulsated with an otherworldly energy. Constellations danced on the walls, shimmering with an inner light. In the center of the room, a celestial map unlike any Alistair had ever seen hovered in the air. "This," Amara said, her voice echoing in the vast chamber, "is a map of the soul, a tapestry woven from your experiences, your dreams, your desires." And at its center, she pointed to a faint, flickering point of light. Alistair's heart pounded in his chest. "That," he whispered, "that's my star." Amara nodded. "Your guiding light, dimmed but not extinguished. The trials were not just to test your strength, but to clear the path, to remove the obstacles that blocked your connection." Alistair stared at the map, overwhelmed with a kaleidoscope of emotions. Relief battled with a nagging doubt. "But why was it taken away?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Your star," Amara explained, "represents your divine purpose. But sometimes, the path becomes obscured by self-doubt, fear, and negativity. Your shadow self, for so long unaddressed, cast a shadow over your light." Alistair felt a pang of understanding. His anxieties, his years of chasing after external validation, these had all conspired to dim his inner flame. "But now," Amara continued, her voice filled with warmth, "you have the power to reignite it. The trials have cleared the way. The choice is yours, Alistair Sterling. Will you reclaim your birthright?" Alistair looked upon the map of his soul, the path forward now illuminated. He saw the potential that had always resided within him, the spark waiting to be fanned into a roaring blaze. He looked at Amara, her eyes filled with compassion and unwavering faith. "Yes," he said, his voice filled with newfound conviction. "I will reclaim my star." A gentle smile touched Amara's lips. "Then the final step is yours," she said, gesturing towards the hovering celestial map. "Reach out. Reconnect with the light within." Alistair closed his eyes, focusing his intent. He remembered the lessons from Elora, the techniques to access the deeper realms of his being. He reached out a tentative hand towards the map, a feeling of warmth spreading through his palm as he connected with the faint point of light. A jolt of energy coursed through him, and when he opened his eyes, the map was gone. But a profound shift had occurred within him. He felt a sense of wholeness, a reconnection with his true self. His star, no longer a distant beacon, now burned brightly within him, guiding him forward on his path. He looked at Amara, a wave of gratitude washing over him. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have given me back a part of myself I thought was lost." Amara smiled. "The power was always within you, Alistair," she said gently. "We merely helped you rediscover it." Now Chapter 7, Echoes of the Past, the Test of Forgiveness. Alistair emerged from the observatory a changed man. The world seemed brighter, sharper. The weight of his captured destiny had lifted, replaced by a newfound sense of purpose. He could feel his star burning brightly within him, a guiding light illuminating the path ahead. But the wayfinders had warned him, the final test remained. It wasn't a trial by fire or a test of courage. It was a test of forgiveness. The cryptic message delivered in a dream was simple yet chilling. Return to the place where it all began. Alistair felt a knot of apprehension tighten in his gut. The place where it all began could only mean one thing. The prestigious university where his astronomical career had taken flight. A place that now held painful memories. Years ago, after his discovery of the missing star, he'd been ostracized by his colleagues, his reputation in tatters. The pain of their dismissal still lingered, a festering wound within him. Ignoring the trepidation gnawing at him, Alistair booked a flight back to the university. He knew this was an essential part of his journey, a hurdle he had to overcome. As he walked through the familiar hallways, a ghost of his former self echoed in the sterile corridors. He found his old office, the dust-covered telescope a stark reminder of his fall from grace. A tremor of anger threatened to rise, but he forced it down. He wasn't there to rekindle old wounds. He was there to forgive. He sought out Dr. Evans, his former mentor, the man who had initially encouraged his pursuit of the Celestial Weaver but later turned his back when Alistair's research took an unorthodox turn. He found him in the same office, a wisp of his former self, his eyes clouded with disappointment. Alistair took a deep breath. Dr. Evans, he began, his voice surprisingly steady. I apologize for my behavior during that time. My grief over the missing star, well, it clouded my judgment. Dr. Evans looked up, surprised. A flicker of recognition played across his wrinkled face. Alistair, he rasped. What brings you here? Alistair explained his journey, his encounter with the Wayfinders, and the final test before him. He spoke openly about his pain, his anger, but also his newfound understanding. He spoke of the importance of forgiveness, of letting go of the past to embrace the future. As he spoke, a transformation seemed to occur within Dr. Evans. The disappointment in his eyes softened, replaced by a glimmer of understanding. He reached out a hand, his touch surprisingly warm. I too have things to apologize for, he said, his voice gruff with age. For the next hour, they talked, not as colleagues, but as human beings. Alistair forgave the harsh judgments, Dr. Evans the emotional outburst. In that shared act of forgiveness, a weight lifted from both their shoulders. Leaving the university, Alistair felt a sense of closure. He had faced the demons of his past, releasing the bitterness that had festered for so long. He understood now, forgiveness wasn't just about the other person, it was about releasing yourself from the chains of negativity. As he boarded the plane back home, he glanced out the window. The stars twinkled brightly, a dazzling canopy against the velvet black sky. His star, no longer a distant beacon, shone brightly within him, guiding him forward. He was ready, truly ready, to embrace his destiny. Chapter 8, Whispers of Deception, A Shadow's Return. Alistair returned home a changed man. The lightness in his step, the warmth in his eyes, spoke volumes of the journey he'd undertaken. He delved back into his research, not with the desperation of a lost man, but with the focused determination of someone who had rediscovered their path. His nights were no longer haunted by nightmares. Dreams, however, remained a source of cryptic messages. One recurring dream featured a swirling vortex of darkness, a voice emanating from within, whispering insidious doubts. You think you've won, the voice hissed, a chilling echo of his own shadow self. The Wayfinders merely toyed with you. They gave you a false sense of security. Alistair dismissed it as a lingering fragment of his past, a final attempt by his shadow to hold him back. But the dreams persisted, growing more vivid, the voice more insistent. It spoke of a hidden agenda, of the Wayfinders manipulating him for their own purposes. Seeds of doubt began to sprout in Alistair's mind. He questioned everything, his experiences, the Wayfinder's motives, even the reality of his own star. Was it all a delusion, a coping mechanism for his shattered career? One morning, an email arrived, its sender addressed simply a friend. It contained a single sentence: the truth about the Wayfinders awaits. Meet me at the abandoned observatory, midnight. Curiosity warring with unease, Alistair found himself drawn to the deserted observatory, a place that once held immense power for him. As midnight struck, a figure emerged from the shadows, shrouded in a dark cloak. Alistair Sterling, the figure rasped, its voice distorted. You seek answers. I have them. The figure proceeded to unveil a series of seemingly incriminating details about the Wayfinders. They were not benevolent guides, it claimed, but manipulators who fed off the energy of those seeking help. The tests, the trials, were all elaborate schemes to weaken individuals, making them easier prey. Alistair listened, his stomach churning. The information fit so neatly with the doubts already swirling in his mind. Could everything he'd experienced be a lie? The only way to break free, the figure continued, is to confront them, to expose their true nature. Alistair felt a surge of anger mixed with a desperate need for the truth. He would confront the Wayfinders, he decided, and demand answers. Bidding farewell to the mysterious figure, Alistair returned home, his mind a battlefield of conflicting emotions. Was he on the verge of uncovering a grand deception, or succumbing to a masterfully crafted illusion? Only one way to find out. Chapter 9, Unveiling the Charade, a Confrontation with Destiny. Alistair spent the next few days in a turmoil. The shadowy figure's words echoed in his mind, poisoning the wellspring of trust he built with the Wayfinders. He wrestled with the urge to confront them immediately, but a cautious voice whispered in his ear. He needed proof, not blind accusations. He revisited Dr. Singh, hoping for some insight. When he recounted his experience with the cloaked figure and the accusations against the Wayfinders, her brow furrowed in concern. "Intriguing," she said, tapping her chin thoughtfully. "There have been whispers of a rogue group, shadow weavers who exploit the fears and vulnerabilities of those seeking guidance. Perhaps you encountered one such entity." Alistair felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps the shadowy figure wasn't a reliable source after all. But Dr. Singh's words also planted a seed of doubt. Could there be some truth to the accusations? Were the Wayfinders truly above suspicion? He decided on a different approach. He meticulously reviewed his dreams, the encounters with the Wayfinders, searching for any inconsistencies, any hint of manipulation. He consulted his notes on Ellara's teachings, the lessons on discernment and the subtle energies that could be used for good or ill. As he delved deeper, a pattern began to emerge. The shadowy figure's voice, though mimicking his own doubts, lacked the warmth and compassion that characterized the Wayfinders. Their guidance, while challenging, had ultimately led him to a place of self-discovery and forgiveness. The more Alistair analyzed his experiences, the more convinced he became of the Wayfinder's sincerity. The shadowy figure's accusations seemed like a deliberate attempt to sow discord, to sever the connection he'd finally established with his guiding light. With newfound resolve, Alistair decided to confront the shadowy figure, not to accuse the Wayfinders, but to expose the deception for what it was. He sent a reply to the anonymous email, simply stating, "I know your game. Meet me at the abandoned observatory, sunrise." He arrived just as the first rays of dawn painted the horizon with streaks of gold and crimson. The cloaked figure materialized from the shadows, its form even more menacing in the pre-dawn light. "So, you've come, Alistair," the figure asked. "Ready to hear the truth about your precious Wayfinders?" Alistair stood tall, his voice steady despite the tremor in his heart. "There will be no more lies," he declared. "I've seen through your deception. You are a shadow weaver, a manipulator who feeds on doubt and fear." The figure recoiled slightly, surprised by Alistair's defiance. "You misunderstand," it hissed. "I am merely offering you the truth they are hiding from you." Alistair shook his head. "The truth is within me," he said. "They guided me to discover it. You, on the other hand, seek to exploit my vulnerabilities. But I will not be your pawn." Alistair felt a surge of energy coursing through him, a manifestation of his reconnected star. He raised his hand, focusing his intent, and a wave of pure light emanated from his palm, pushing back the darkness that shrouded the figure. With a shriek of rage, the cloaked figure dissolved into wisps of dark smoke, leaving only the faintest echo of its words hanging in the air. "You may have won this battle, Alistair Sterling, but the war is far from over." Alistair stood alone in the dawn's embrace, the weight of the encounter settling upon him. He had faced his doubts, his fears, and emerged victorious. The Shadow Weaver had been vanquished, but his words hung heavy, a reminder of the darkness that could still lurk in the shadows. But Alistair no longer felt alone. His star, rekindled and burning brightly within him, illuminated his path forward. He knew the challenges were not over, but he also knew he was prepared to face them. With a newfound sense of purpose, he turned towards the rising sun, ready to embrace his destiny. Chapter 10, Echoes from the Cosmos. A new chapter begins. The encounter with the Shadow Weaver left a profound mark on Alistair. The lingering doubt served as a stark reminder of the constant battle between light and darkness, not just in the world around him, but within himself as well. However, the victory instilled a newfound confidence, a sense of empowerment that propelled him forward. He returned to Ellara, eager to share his experience and seek guidance. She listened patiently as he recounted the shadowy figure's accusations and his subsequent confrontation. A faint smile played on her lips when he finished. The shadow weavers are a constant threat, Ella explained. They thrive on negativity, on the insecurities and vulnerabilities of others. You did well to recognize their deception and stay true to your path, but what about the Wayfinders? Alistair asked, a flicker of unease still lingering. Are they truly who they say they are? Ella's smile deepened. The Wayfinders do not operate in absolutes, Alistair, she said. They guide, they nudge, but ultimately, the journey of self-discovery is yours alone. It is through your own experiences, your choices, that you forge your own path. Her words resonated with Alistair. His encounter with the Wayfinders had been pivotal, but it was his own inner strength, his commitment to facing his doubts, that had ultimately led him to victory. Ella continued, the whispers from the cosmos, she said, her voice taking on a more serious tone, have grown stronger. There is a disturbance in the celestial balance, a ripple emanating from a distant corner of the universe. Alistair's heart pounded in his chest. What does it mean? Ella shook her head. The details are still unclear. But the Wayfinders believe you may play a role in restoring the balance. Your rekindled star, your newfound connection to the unseen realms, these make you uniquely qualified. Alistair felt a wave of apprehension wash over him. He had only just begun to navigate his own inner world, and now he was being thrust into a cosmic conflict. But a spark of excitement ignited within him as well. The prospect of using his newfound abilities for a greater purpose was thrilling. What do I need to do? He asked, his voice firm with resolve. Ella's eyes held a twinkle of amusement. First, she said, you need to learn to control your newfound abilities. To channel the light of your star with precision and focus. The following weeks were a blur of intense training. Ella pushed Alistair to his limits, teaching him to manipulate the subtle energies within him, to project his consciousness through time and space. He learned to sense the flow of energy through the cosmos, to identify imbalances and disruptions. One day, during a particularly intense meditation session, Alistair found himself transported to a swirling vortex of darkness. In the heart of the vortex, a lone figure writhed, its form shrouded in shadows, its energy a malevolent distortion. Alistair recognized the signature of a shadow weaver, but this one was unlike any he had encountered before. It pulsed with a power that sent shivers down his spine. A voice echoed in his mind, a voice filled with rage and despair. You cannot hope to stop me, the voice boomed. The darkness will consume all. Alistair felt a surge of defiance. He wouldn't allow this entity to spread its darkness. Focusing his intent, he projected the light of his star towards the vortex. For a moment, there was a struggle, a clash of light and darkness. Then, with a shriek, the vortex imploded, and the shadow weaver was banished. Alistair gasped, returning to his physical body. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but a sense of accomplishment warmed him from within. He had faced a powerful shadow weaver and emerged victorious. Ella greeted him back with a knowing smile. You have taken your first steps, Alistair, she said. The path ahead will be fraught with challenges, but you are no longer alone. The Wayfinders are with you, and your star guides your way. Alistair looked up at the night sky, the stars twinkling like a million tiny beacons. He no longer saw them as distant objects, but as interconnected points of light, a vast tapestry of energy woven into the very fabric of existence. He was a part of this tapestry now, or thread that could help maintain the balance between light and dark. With a deep breath and a newfound sense of purpose, Alistair Sterling stepped out into the night, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. His journey as a Wayfinder had just begun.